Hey everyone! So I thought I'd do a quick video on the instruments in Pico-8 and how to organize them when you're composing your own tunes and sound effects. So I've lined them all up here on a C2, sounds like this. So instrument 6 is the most unique here. We'll use it for percussive sounds, swooshes, ambience, but not so much for melodies or bass lines. So I'm going to take it out. So when you hear them back to back like this, you can hear that some are more harsh than others. So now I'm going to try to organize them based on harshness. This can be helpful when you're trying to create certain moods for your game or composition. For me, the most mild instrument is 7, and then the next is 0. You can hear that they sound really similar, even if I change them like this. Very similar. Instrument 5 can definitely be placed around 0. Now instrument 5 is kind of special because it sounds higher than the other instruments. So that means you can do tricks like this without changing the range. You can just change the instrument. It's going to sound very similar to this. Actually, I can just do... Whoops. It sounds very similar because 5 sounds higher. C2 on a 5 is going to sound very similar to a C3 on 0. Because instrument 5 sounds higher than the other instruments, it usually will work better in the mid to high range for melodies. So after 1 and 5, I think of instrument 1 as kind of being the bridge between the mild instruments and the harsh instruments. I mean, you can really use any of these instruments for melodies or bass lines, depending on the mood you're trying to create, but generally, I really like using 1 for bass lines. Actually, what I'll do is put this in the lower register so you can hear. So instrument 1 isn't as smooth as instrument 0, so it has a little bit of punch, but not so much that it's the center of attention. Yeah, so the last 3 instruments are definitely more harsh than the others. In terms of harshness, I hear them in this order, 3, 4, 2, but you might hear them differently. Instruments 2 and 4 are very similar. Actually, I'll show you what I mean. Let's put this all in one range. Yeah, it sounds very similar. And 3 and 4 can sound similar a little bit. And then 3 and 2, maybe a little less similar. I mean, however you order them, these instruments are definitely meant for sound effects and music parts that you want to stand out from everything else. So there you have it. When you're writing your own music or sound effects, hopefully this helps you decide on what instruments to use. If you're composing music for, I don't know, a peaceful village, you might want to stay in the range of the more mild instruments like 7, 0, and 5. But if you're composing music for a space shooter, then you might want to use more harsh instruments, 0, 3, 4, and 2. If you're creating a sound effect for, let's say, a jumping sound, you might want to use a more mild instrument, like 0 or 7, or maybe a little lower. If you use a harsh instrument, it'll sound like this. Might be a little bit too much. 5 is a good sound for jumping, or maybe a mix of... And if you want to put some punch in there with 1. But yeah, having a jumping sound with using harsh instruments, doesn't work as nice. If you're creating, say, a sound effect for a laser beam, using harsh instruments might be better. So let's create some kind of laser sound. I don't know. Or maybe lower. Or actually we can put, that might work better. What if we speed it up? Or now if we switch 2 with something less harsh, it doesn't have that same punch. So experimenting with shooting sounds or any sound that you want to stick out more, using the harsh instruments like 3, 4, and 2 will work better. That sounds kind of interesting. Yeah, so hopefully this is helpful. Leave me questions in the comments below, and thanks for watching.